Okay, good morning and welcome to our latest webinar, which is a recap on everything you need to know about UKCA. So this is a webinar which we first ran last year. There has been some changes to the timings and the deadlines of UKCA certification, so we thought it would be a good opportunity to recap on UKCA and then also look at those latest timings and criteria is for UKCA. So I'll shortly be passing you over to Andy Oliver, who's our regional sales manager. So he'll be taking you through the bulk of the webinar today. We will have a question and answers session at the end of the webinar. So there's a question section on your control panel of your GoToWebinar control panel where you can submit questions as we go through, but we'll be leaving some time at the end to answer as many as we possibly can. So please get those into us. Just a quick note to say as well that all the slides that you see here today and the recording will be made available after the webinar. So we'll be in touch after the webinar later this week to share those with you. But like I said, anything else, please get any questions over to us in the control panel, and we'll come to those at the end. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Andy Oliver. I'll speak to you again at the end of the webinar when we come to the questions. So Andy, over to you.
Thank you, Callum. So just a quick introduction. My name's Andy Oliver, and I'm one of two UK regional sales managers, myself and my colleague Derek Scott. And between us, we cover the UK and Ireland between us. So thank you for taking time out of your day to join us today. So we'll get on with the webinar. So the subject of today's webinar is UKCA marking, and we're going to try and cover everything that you might need to know in relation to hazardous area lighting in particular. So today's agenda. Firstly, we will be looking at UKCA marking and why is it important, and we'll also identify some of the changes. Then on to how this new type of marking affects how you specify lighting in the UK, and also what happens if you're buying lighting from a UK manufacturer. Then we'll come on to what Raytec are doing on this subject. And finally, we'll have a Q&A session at the end, as Callum has alluded to, and we will do our best to try and answer any questions that you might have. So let's look at UKCA. So following the UK's departure from the European Union, we entered a transitional period which came into effect at the end of December, 31st of December 2020. And from the 1st of January 2021, the UKCA mark, which is UK Conformity Assessment, has replaced CE marking and declares that the product conforms to the applicable UK legislation in order to be placed on the market in England, Scotland and Wales. However, due to the Northern Ireland Protocol, goods in Northern Ireland will continue to require CE marking, or in some particular cases, a UK NI mark. UKCA is going to affect all products, just as the CE mark did, so subject to EU directives that used to require CE marking. So this is radio equipment, EMC directive, low voltage directive, and obviously these cover a huge number of different products, not just lighting. So lighting is affected by these changes, and we're going to look at how this affects lighting for potentially explosive atmospheres, or EX areas. So in the UK, this was formally covered by the requirements of the Raytec Directive 2014/34/EU. However, this has now been replaced with the UK Directive SI 2016 number 1107. This is effectively a UK EX scheme to replace the Raytec Directive in Great Britain. Anybody manufacturing EX lighting for the GB market will have to make some changes to how their products are certified in order to be compliant with the new UK EX scheme. So let's look at some timescales that are going to affect us all. So, as I've said, UKCA marking has been allowed on products on the market in Great Britain since the 1st of January 2021. In some cases, this marking is mandatory. If the product is intended for use only on the GB market and is conformity assessed by a UK approved body, then you must apply the UKCA mark immediately. However, for the majority of products, we are currently in a grace period where the CE mark and the ATEX directive will still be recognised in Great Britain. Sorry, just had a bit of an IT issue. So we're in this grace period and CE mark and ATEX directive will still be recognised in the GB, providing that the conformity of the product has been assessed by an EU 27 notified body. Nevertheless, the advice is that the UKCA mark should be applied to products as soon as possible. The deadline for when this must be in place has recently changed. Originally, the UK government said it absolutely had to be in place before the 31st of December 2021, but that deadline has since been moved to the 1st of January 2023. This is when the grace period comes to an end. And from this date, 1st of January 2023, only the UKCA mark will be recognised for products placed onto the GB market. So, if you're specifying lighting for the GB market, let's just look at some of those key dates and just see how it affects us. So, between January 2021 and January 2023, we're in a grace period where the UKCA mark is valid if conformity is assessed by a UK body, and CE and ATEX markings are also still valid as long as this conformity is assessed by an EU 27 notified body. And during this grace period, the UKCA mark is encouraged for use as soon as possible. From January 2023, CE and ATEX marks will no longer be accepted in the UK and all products must be certified to UKCA. This applies in England, Scotland and Wales with a separate requirement for Northern Ireland. You also need a separate UKCA approved body for applying the UKCA mark, separate to any notified body for applying the ATEX mark. And if the product was placed onto the GB market before this date, then they can continue to circulate until they reach their end user, as long as the product was on the market before January 2023. So that applies if you're purchasing or specifying a product in Great Britain, but what if you're outside the GB and buying a product from a UK manufacturer? Well, solely looking at the certification requirements, nothing really has changed. CE and ATEX are still required within the EU, and UKCA is not a recognised mark in Europe. However, if you are purchasing directly from a UK manufacturer, there are some additional factors that you might need to consider. You still require CE, you still require ATEX, you do not require UKCA. So, the UK is now a third country outside of the European Economic Area. Therefore, distributors in the EU buying from a UK manufacturer in many circumstances are placing the product on the EU market for the very first time. Hence, they are now acting as an importer of goods into the EU. This means that the buyer takes on a little bit more responsibility than they did when the UK was within the European Union. These extra responsibilities include verifying that the manufacturer has taken the necessary steps to allow the product to be placed onto the market, that the product complies with all the conformity requirements, correctly marked, and that all the technical documentation is in place to be able to back up the EU Declaration of Conformity. This additional technical data may be required for customs clearance into the EU. We've all heard about the delays at borders since these rules came in, and a lot of this is because of the extra checks that are needed to be in place for goods entering into the EU market. However, it's important to note that if the manufacturer has put a CE mark on their product, then all of this information should be readily available. And it's also worth noting that the same also applies the other way around. So for a UK distributor putting an EU product on the market in Great Britain, that conformity with UK legislation must be verified by the UK importer. What are the requirements of obtaining UKCA approval? The requirements of conformity assessment for UKEX are, at the moment, the same as the latest editions of the 60079 series of standards. However, that is the same as the very latest editions. So whereas with an ATEX product, which could be certified to an edition of the standard that could be 10 to 15 years old, a UKCA assessment must be against the very latest version of the standards, taking into account all the changes in those standards over that time frame. And it's also, sorry, I've missed a bit of that. I'll come back to that. But let's look at an example of those changes to the standards. In that time frame discussed, there have been changes to the Zone 2 standards, the old non-arcing EXNA conformity, and that has now been replaced with increased safety EXEC. There are quite a few changes to these requirements, which include more stringent impact requirements, 4 joule impact on optical components, and a 7 joule impact on non-optical components. Overall, these requirements are broadly similar to the requirements of the Zone 1 product, rather than the slightly upgraded requirements from an industrial product that the old EXNA required. Well, these technical requirements may actually be quite difficult for some products on the market to comply with, and some manufacturers may have to seriously consider the commercial opportunity on the GB market, taking into account the considerable cost of new certification and having to potentially upgrade tooling, manufacturing process, etc., to meet the latest versions of the standards. Therefore, it's not a given that all manufacturers will apply UKCA or even be able to apply the UKCA mark to their products. Sorry, I'm having a bit of a time lag on my presentation, so that's why that's not gone particularly well. My apologies. So, as a specifier, what factors should you consider during this grace period? Are you still specifying a product that is not UKCA approved? If you are, and you're currently doing nothing wrong, as long as the boxes are ticked that we discussed earlier. But is that product certified to the old editions of the standard? And will it still be available on the GB market after January 2023? And at that point, will it still be compliant? And you really have to consider the ongoing scope of work beyond 2023. The Raytec approach. What are we doing here at Raytec? Well, as always, As we've always done, we've worked closely with our UK approved body to make sure that all of our products are compliant and certified to the latest editions of the standard. Over the last few months, or the last year, we've been working closely on this, and UKCA approval has been obtained for all products within the Raytec Spartan range. These new certificate numbers have now been incorporated into all of our product literature, our declarations of conformity, our website, and our instruction manuals. And if you order a new EX product from Raytec, that product will carry UKCA mark, and this has been the case since June of last year. We've implemented a change that means that our EX luminaires are now Flyrated. This means the labelling shown here, showing the UKCA mark with the approved body number in the top right corner, a CE mark with that ATEX notified body number, and also just below that, the ATEX, UKEX, and IECX certificates displayed on the label. So because Raytec holds a conformity assessment with both a UK body and an EU notified body, and our products conform to the requirements of all three approvals, we can offer a single product variant suitable for the GB market, the EU market, and the rest of the world. Obviously, there are variations for the North American market, and some of that we do have. So, just to summarise the key points that we've discussed. So, starting with the changes which will affect everyone, we must use a UKCA approved product from the GB market as of 1st of January 2023. You should start specifying UKCA products, UKCA approved luminaires as soon as possible. Changes to the UK and EU trading relationship into this also affects those installing products outside of the UK. And a key factor is that not all manufacturers will obtain or potentially even seek to obtain UK marking, UKCA marking for their luminaires. Lastly, what have Raytec done in response to all of this? Our luminaires are now Flyrated with UKCA, ATEX and IECEX marks, and that's on all of our products suitable for the relevant markets. Again, as just said, with particular variants suitable for the North American market. And that means that the UKCA mark now standard on all of our Spartan products. So that concludes my little spiel on UKCA. Apologies for some of my IT issues. I'll now hand back to Callum for any questions that you may have.
Yeah, thanks very much, Andy. So yeah, we'll come to the Q&A now. Opportunity for anyone to get any questions in. So as I said at the start, there's a questions section on the control panel of your webinar control panel, so you can type any questions in there and submit them, and we'll come to them. So please get those into us now. And just to remind you again that we will be making the slide and recording of today's webinar available afterwards. So if you want to watch it back and spend some more time going through it, then you'll be able to do that. So we'll be in touch later in the week with a copy of both of those. So we'll wait for some questions to come through. In the meantime, I think a question which we got last time we ran this webinar, Andy, which perhaps we can come to first, was a few people asked how will they actually know if the luminaire is approved to UKCA?
UKCA will know that casing is certified. UKCA, there will be notification on the declaration of conformity. In some cases, it can be a combined notification, could have UKCA and ATEX. During the grace period, UKCA mark can be on the literature and on the label. But as of 2023, 1st of January 2023 onwards, the UKCA mark must be on the fitting. And at Raytec, we've gone and we've gone a little stage further, and we mark up the fitting, and we also mark up the label on the end of the box, so you can clearly see that it is UKCA certified.
Thanks very much, Andy. Another question which we've had in from Paul, who asks, who are the UKEX notified bodies?
Right, so all previous certification or approved bodies in the UK who would previously issue ATEX and IECX marks, as a matter of course, will automatically be able to apply a UKCA mark. And just for reference, we use CML based over in Ellesmere Port in the northwest. So they supply us with our UKCA mark. So generally, anybody who used to do the ATEX marking should be able to offer the UKCA mark.
Okay, thank you. A question from Mikkel, who asks, you fully understand the UKCA process, but we said that EX lighting manufacturers may have to modify the luminaire to comply. What do you mean by this?
So, thank you for the question. So, in reference to some of the Zone 2 products on the market, so there's a lot of products out there that are EXNA certified, which under ATEX regulations are absolutely fine, have been absolutely fine, and do the job. The UKCA mark, so because that's been done to the very latest standards, and the latest changes are that a Zone 2 product can no longer be EXNA, it now needs to be EXEC. So if that existing product, if that manufacturer isn't prepared to upgrade their fitting to meet EXEC, then they're not going to get UKCA approval on that fitting. So potentially there is some manufacturing tooling process work to be done by manufacturers in order to make fittings compliant. I think the best thing in that is to speak to, obviously from a Raytec point of view, we're already fully compliant. If you've got other questions to ask of other manufacturers, obviously we can't answer those, but the questions would need to be asked.
Thank you. There's a question from Jeff about Compex and someone you can talk to at Raytec. Jeff, will come to you on that offline. We'll advise you on that. We'll be able to check and come back to you on that one. Question from Lee. Can you please confirm warranty on the fittings? I presume he means Raytec fittings. Confirm the warranty on fittings, battery and LED blocks, and can you confirm the warranty process?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lee. So Raytec offer a 5-year warranty on all products within the Spartan and Warrior range. That 5-year warranty does not include the batteries. The batteries are 1-year warranty because it's consumable. Okay, if you've got a problem or problem with the fitting on site, my recommendation would be to get in touch with your relevant regional sales manager, either myself, Derek for Scotland, or myself for the rest of the UK, England, Wales, and Ireland, and we will help to get that problem sorted.
Thank you very much. I think that's all the questions we've got for the moment. Hopefully we've clarified those questions we have had. We'll hang on for another few minutes just in case there are any more questions to come in. But I think if there's not, we'll just say thank you very much. As Andy said at the start, thanks for taking your time out to attend this webinar. Hopefully you found it useful. And again, thanks very much, and we'll speak to you soon.
Thank you.